Hey everybody, I'm NBC Connecticut Chief Meteorologist Ryan Hanrahan. Want to update you on this storm we have coming in. It's really just a Clipper system, and it's pretty weak, but it is going to cause at least a couple issues in a few spots. So wanted to keep you updated on it, and we're also going to look ahead to see what we've got coming down the pipeline, because I think the weather gets a little bit interesting in the next couple days. So we're going to have to see exactly how all this develops. But first things first, let's talk about what we've got coming in for this evening. So right now, we've got some snow moving across portions of New York State. Now, the snow is not very impressive at the moment, but the snow is going to be spreading into Litchfield County, let's say in the next half an hour to hour or so. And then from there, that snow is going to turn to rain across the remainder of Connecticut. So this is really just a Litchfield County kind of deal. So let me show you what's going on. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you here. And a couple things to note here on live Doppler radar. So first things first is what you see here down through Connecticut and the lower Hudson Valley. That is actually what we call virga. That is snow or rain that's coming down from the clouds, but evaporating before it reaches the surface. But what you see back here across New York State, this is reaching the ground, and the snow's coming down at a pretty good clip just to the west of Albany, down through the Catskills, and that's the system that'll be moving in over the next few hours. So put this into motion for you, and you can see, here's what's going on. You can see the precipitation starting to fill into the south, and as we moisten the column and we get rid of all that evaporation, we're going to start seeing some precipitation moving in. And we want to hear what's going on in your town. If you got any questions about the weather or the weather pattern, just shoot us a note in the comments section here on YouTube or Facebook. We'd love to interact a little bit with you as this system moves in. And you know, it's been a very cold start to December so far. Obviously, temperatures running about 10 degrees below normal, but we have not had much in the way of snow. And so, you know, that's may change in some spots this afternoon up in Litchfield County. So here's the setup. The storm is off to our north and west. The center of the storm is back toward really Buffalo. So the storm is cutting to our west, and that allows the wind to come in from the south and southwest across southern New England. So that's a warm weather direction. We're bringing in that milder air from the south and southwest. And so that's why we're expecting mainly rain here in Connecticut. Up in the hills and up north into the Berkshires, it's a bit of a different story, and that's where we're looking at the potential for snow and accumulating snow where it is cold enough. So here's the system. You can see it diving down from the south. We call this an Alberta Clipper. It's coming down from the province of Alberta, moving south. They're very quick moving. They're typically sort of starved for moisture. And so as this system moves through, we're going to see a little bit of precipitation tonight, but not a whole lot. So they're pretty common in the winter. This one is just a little unusual in that the system is going to track, the center of the storm is going to track off to our northwest. And so that puts us on the warmer side of things. So I want to take a live look outside here. This is the view in Litchfield at the moment. And you can see still some snow on the ground from the last system we had, but no snow falling. So again, up in the clouds, we've got some snow coming down, but that snow is evaporating, or technically it's actually sublimating. That's what snow does, as it goes from a solid to a gas. And that's what we've got over Litchfield County now. That is going to change. Give it about an hour or so, as I mentioned. By 2 o'clock, I think we start to see our first flakes, and then the snow picks up later on this evening. So temperatures across Connecticut, this really tells the story. Look at the difference here between southeastern Connecticut and northwestern Connecticut. This is a pretty dramatic shift here. Temperature in Stonington now with the wind off Long Island Sound, 50 degrees. Groton's 49, Norwich is 49. Even once you get back up toward Hartford, 43, it's 40 up in Windsor Lock. So with temperatures like that, you're not getting much in the way of snow. And if it does snow, if you do get a couple flakes to mix in, they're probably going to melt before they accumulate. Now, up in northwestern Connecticut, it's different. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's a little colder off to the north and west. The air mass is a little bit colder, but you also have this southwesterly wind. So up in Litchfield County, that southwesterly wind is actually not interacting with the water at all. Long Island Sound is still pretty mild, relatively speaking, for December. It's in the upper 40s. So when you get the wind blowing off the water, that will warm the temperatures along the shoreline, and even as far north and west as I-84, because there's some marine influence. There's some influence coming in off Long Island Sound. When you get up into northwestern Litchfield County, though, that southwesterly wind, that's blowing up from northern New Jersey and the Hudson Valley. It's not interacting with the Atlantic or Long Island Sound. So not only is the air mass a little bit colder up in northwestern Connecticut, but you also have that fact that you're removed from the influence of the warmer waters. So temperatures up in northwestern Connecticut, you can see the areas where we're concerned about snow. 33 in Winstead, that's an area that's going to get some snow. 29 in Norfolk, certainly there. Even New Hartford, 36. When the snow starts, temperatures will probably drop a little bit. And then Torrington down to Bantam along 202, you've got temperatures in the mid-30s. So should be good for snow. Whether you get accumulation is going to depend on just how quickly we're able to get that temperature to drop. So in terms of accumulation, the higher elevations like Norfolk at 1,200 feet, we're already below freezing. Not going to be a problem to get the snow to stick there. Winstead should stick pretty easily once it starts snowing. Torrington, Bantam, out toward New Hartford, maybe a little more challenging, may take a little bit more time. So let's go hour by hour here. Watch the system move on through. By 3 o'clock, starting to pick up in northwestern Connecticut, and then you get a little burst 4, 5, 6 o'clock. Again, this is that Clipper system. It means it's quick moving. So by 5:30, 6 o'clock, it's actually snowing at a pretty good clip up in far northwestern Connecticut, up in Litchfield County, and it's rain elsewhere. And I was sort of joking about this earlier. It's just a cold, nasty rain down the I-91 corridor. Sort of depressing to get a rain event this time of year for some people, with temperatures in the mid and upper 30s. And then as we go through time, well, we'll get the system out of here. Things improve. The clouds stick around through this evening, but the rain moves on out. And then by tomorrow morning, the clouds will break. We get the sun to come out, and things look a whole lot better for the day on Thursday. Though it's going to be cooler. We're going to get the wind out of the northwest, so that's going to bring in that cooler air. So what are we talking about here? Not a whole lot, right? We're talking about not much in the way of accumulation, up to 2 inches across portions of northwestern Connecticut, Litchfield County. I think 2 inches, best bet for that is going to be higher terrain, up above 800 or 1,000 feet. If you're in the valley, say downtown Torrington, maybe tough to get a whole lot more than a coating to have an inch or so once temperatures drop. So elevation dependent and also sort of longitude and latitude dependent. The farther northwest you go, the better chance you have to get some accumulation. So if you're watching us right now on YouTube, we appreciate it. If you're watching on our streaming channels, we appreciate that as well. If you got any comments, let us know what's going on in your town. If you got any questions, we're happy to answer them as well as we get this little system to fly on through southern New England. Again, it's been pretty quiet. It's been pretty cold, but looks like things are getting at least a little bit more interesting. So in terms of wind, that's going to be another issue here for parts of the state, especially for coastal Connecticut. That's where we got the best chance of getting some stronger winds. In fact, the winds are already picking up. We're gusting up to 24 in Waterbury, 26 miles an hour in Groton, 26 miles per hour in Stonington, 23 miles per hour in Willimantic. So yes, we're getting some wind, but I do think the wind picks up by later on this afternoon, say by 4:30. I think we'll see some wind gusts approaching 40, especially on the shoreline from Old Saybrook on east. So it's going to be really interesting later on today. You're going to have strong wind gusts across far southeastern Connecticut, while the northwest corner is dealing with some snow. The winds will be lighter there. And just looking at this map here, you can see across portions of northwestern Connecticut, you got the wind coming in from the south. That is not a direction we really associate with snowfall. Normally, you want the wind out of the north or the northeast, and that's why the snowfall here, even though it's been really cold lately, the snow is going to be sort of relegated to the northwest corner because that is where we expect temperatures to be coldest. But again, not a classic looking setup here because you're not talking about a northerly wind that can help lock in the cold. We're talking about a wind now coming in from the northwest, from the southwest, and that's bringing in some milder air. So that's going to be a bit of an issue there. So in terms of what we've got going on here, for the remainder of the afternoon, it's that strong wind along the shoreline. You're going to notice that gust may rattle the windows a little bit. And then across portions of northwestern Connecticut, it's going to be the snow. Now, farther to the north, and this is some good news actually for the skiers, farther north across portions of northern New England, looks like it's going to be a pretty decent system. We've got a winter storm warning in effect for southern Vermont. So that includes Mount Snow and Stratton. Skiers are going to love that because most of the snow so far this winter has been up across, or this fall, late fall, has been up across northern Vermont, Stowe, Jay Peak. But this one, it looks like southern Vermont's going to get the best accumulation, 6 to 12 inches and higher elevations there. So some great news. And even areas farther off to the southwest, across portions of New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, we're talking about the potential for some accumulation there. That's where we have a winter weather advisory in effect. So, all right, let's see what's going on. I got a couple comments and a couple questions coming in from our viewers. I'm going to throw this up on my phone here to see if I can see any more. So one of the questions we've seen here is, what time will this all be moving out? And it's going to be moving out pretty quickly. I think we're going to get rid of this system probably by 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. It should be out of here pretty quickly, which is great news. It's not going to linger. It's getting a little slick spot this evening, but that should be just about it in terms of accumulation. And we are getting some more comments. Let me just see what we've got here. All right, Cheryl up in Torrington reporting to us 1,000 feet of elevation, up to 39 degrees. The wind is calm in Torrington. Temperatures, especially above 1,000 feet, I think you're going to get that temperature to drop pretty quickly once the snow moves in. You'll probably see a little bit of accumulation, Cheryl. So thanks a lot for the comment. We appreciate that. We got another one here from Jose, who writes to us, and I could not agree more with this, Jose. Bring on the thunder snow events. Wouldn't that be nice? So, Jose, thank you for writing into us and letting us know what you're seeing in your town. We certainly do appreciate it. So again, if you've got any comments, got any questions, let us know. Shoot us a note, YouTube, Facebook. I'll be able to see them here and happy to keep you updated on what's happening in your town. So wanted to zoom ahead a little bit. It's going to be cool on Sunday, Monday, or Friday and Saturday. Temperatures back into the 30s. But then for Sunday, things get a little bit interesting. So let's take a look at this one computer model here. And I've actually been looking at the updated run here on my laptop. Can't see it. It's off the screen. I promise it's over here. And trying to see what exactly we're thinking about for this weekend system. And actually just got a comment from Gregory. He's asking a miss over the weekend. I'll get to that. So Saturday, right now, clouds, some sun. There could be a flurry. We got this weak little system moving through. It's not going to do a whole lot. We're not too worried about that at all. So that comes through on Saturday. And then for Sunday, things get a little bit more interesting. So let's take a look at what we've got here for Sunday. We've got a system that dives down again, same deal, dives down from Alberta and Manitoba in Canada, and it's a quick mover, and it winds up to our south. Now, this is the computer model run from last night on the European, and notice it keeps the storm to the south. Now, if that were to happen, that would be effectively a miss. We wouldn't get anything from that. And, you know, I love snow. I'd be happy to get, and I'm working this weekend too, so you might as well get snow if I'm going to be here. So that would be, you know, not that fun. That would be a miss. However, just looking at the new model data, it looks like everything today so far midday has bumped this all a little bit farther to the north and west. And I posted something earlier. You may be able to see it on our I posted a reel of one of those videos, short videos, talking about the difference between our traditional models, like the one I'm showing you here, and our artificial intelligence models. And they're new. We're just starting to dive into them and get acclimated with them. But those are showing a bit of a different scenario. So the AI models have been pretty consistent in bringing a steady light to moderate snow here on Sunday with some accumulation. The physics-based models, the old school models, the models that we've had in one way, shape, or form since the 60s and 70s, those have been a little more inconsistent. They've been bouncing back and forth, and they've kept the storm primarily to the south. So I'm interested to see what happens here. We haven't had a winter really that we've been using these AI models yet. So I'm sort of excited to see how this one pans out. But at least right now, it does look like we've got the potential there for something more interesting on Sunday. Worst case scenario would be, you know, a plowable snow, a few inches of snow, maybe half foot of snow. That seems like a reasonable worst case scenario. A reasonable best case scenario, if you don't like snow, would be the thing missing to the south and never really getting its act together. I don't think we're going to have a real firm handle on this one way or another until probably, and I hate to do this, but probably not until tomorrow. I think if we see some agreement in our computer models later today into tomorrow, we're going to have a much better idea of what this thing wants to do. Does it actually want to be a storm for us, or is it just going to sort of, you know, fizzle out underneath us? So let's go even farther in advance now. All right, let's take a look at the real long range prediction. This is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, and this brings us to Christmas Eve. So this is the average between December 18th and December 24th. And the one thing to note about this is that for the last 2 weeks, we've had this big blob of bright blue and purple over New England showing really, really cold air. That is now being replaced by this lighter shade of blue. And that would indicate that we're starting to see some signs that we may be running toward a more normal, a more typical December weather pattern, and potentially warmer than normal. Some of our computer models are starting to bring in a big surge of warmth by Christmas. So we'll see. It does look like the pattern is going to relax a little bit. So I don't think we're going to end the month as cold as we started the month. This is out in sort of, weather fantasy land, but at least that's the way it looks right now. So we'll keep you posted on that. If we manage the first 3 weeks of December to be like 10 degrees below normal, and we barely have a flake of snow to show for it, and then by the 24th and 25th for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we're at 60 degrees and sunny, I'm just going to give up weather as a hobby. I mean, I can't think of a worse lead up to December. We have just been so unlucky the last couple winters. It's just been brutal around here, but we shall see, right? All right, so let's go back to the matter at hand, and that is this little system for later today. Again, this Clipper system, this Alberta Clipper moving on through. We've got some snow off to the north and west. It looks like it may be trying to move in. At least some of this here that you see across Litchfield County, some of this here is not reaching the ground. This is what we call virga. Virga means you've got snowflakes coming down. The snowflakes are sublimating or not evaporating before they reach the ground. But I do think before too long, we'll saturate the atmosphere. We'll get that snow to come in. Not a huge deal, but up in the hills, probably will be enough to lead to some accumulation. This is the radar loop. Put this into motion for you. This is the last 6 hours. So you can see the system moving in. The key to this one, though, just like I said before, is that it's tracking to the north. Right now, the center is over Lake Erie. And so as it moves off to the north and to the northeast, that will place us in the warm sector. So it's going to be warmer down here across southern New England. And that's why we're expecting for most of us, this is just going to be a rain event. But in the hills, it'll be cold enough that we could see some snow. So that's how things look on the weather maps. One more thing I just wanted to show you. I thought this was a little interesting here. We'll pull this up. This is the visible satellite loop. And as expected, we were actually able to manage some sun. And actually, if you look out toward Cape Cod and Buzzards Bay and Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, it's been bright and sunny for most of the day. Southeastern Connecticut had a lot of sun too. But that is beginning to fill in with clouds. And as we go through the next couple days, I think we get the sun back. But at least for the remainder of the afternoon, we are going to see a lot of clouds out here, and that rain-snow mix. Accumulating snow in northwestern Connecticut seems like a pretty good bet. Not a ton of it, but enough to cause some problems on the roads, especially if you're up in elevation. If you're up, say, above 1,000 feet, definitely you're going to get some accumulation. But even 600, 700, 800 feet, probably some accumulation. And that, again, may cause some issues if you are out and about on the roads later on today. For the rest of us, it's sort of a chilly rain, and then all eyes will be on what happens for Sunday. It's interesting looking. Looks a little more interesting today than it did yesterday. So we'll see how that transpires. And of course, I'm here to update you all along the way. If you've got any questions, throw them in the comments. Make sure you follow us here on Facebook or YouTube. And that's a great way, you can set up notifications. So when we go live with one of these weather updates, you'll be the first to know. So, hey, thank you so much for watching. Really, really appreciate it. It's great to interact with our viewers and see what's going on in their backyards. And we hope to do these often through the winter when the weather gets a little bit more exciting. So again, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Have a great day. If you're up in northwestern Connecticut, be careful if you're driving about later. I think it gets a little snowy for most of us. Stay dry, stay warm later today, and we'll keep you posted on that weekend deal.